Dear Diary, I drink him up like sweet wine, addictive, intoxicating, and I can't get enough. This love consumes me, all of me. When you know there's someone who is obsessed with your darkness and wants more of it, you fall into a bottomless pit of no return because you know that there's space to unleash your wildest desires.
Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today with another video in our Synastry series. And today we're going to be doing the very famous and very requested Moon in Partner's 8th house. So in the diary entry earlier, that is being written from the perspective of the house person and how they may feel when someone's moon is lurking around there in the 8th house. So I have made a video to introduce you to Synastry, as well as a video guiding you through how to get a Synastry chart cooked up between you and a particular love interest or someone in your life. So I'll post a link to those two videos up there, as well as in the description box below, so you can check that out and then come back and watch this video if you're not so familiar with Synastry. So the moon in the houses overlay is really showing the house person's area of life that the moon would like to nurture to the core, into fruition, as well as where the two people are meeting up and acting out their irrationalities, their fears, their insecurities, as well as their security needs. The intuitive natures of that particular house is now going to be provoked by the moon person's moon being there. And so this is really a place where the two people are connecting from their heart rather than from the mind or from the ego. It's kind of like, and I say this in all my videos, you're going shopping and then you see a bag that you really like, and it's really expensive though, but you're willing to buy that bag anyways because it has been made by a local craftsman who has poured his heart and soul into making the bag, and it's really special and really unique, even though it's got little imperfections here and there. So it's really where the irrational imperfections of the moon is really meeting up with a specific area of the house person's life. This is where both people can feel more moved emotionally, whether that be a positive or a more negative move. And the 8th house is a very deep, dark house. It's the house that rules our subconscious mind, things that we know, or maybe we're not so aware of, that are our dark side that we don't want to show to the world. Things like how we get jealous, how we make it possessive, how we self-sabotage, our greatest fears, as well as our deep sexual desires, how we really want to bond with another person intimately and share. Sharing of a lot of things is the 8th house. Sharing of money, sharing of resources, sharing of secrets, that is all 8th house. And so when the moon person's moon comes into this house, so the moon person kind of intuitively senses or can smell all of the things that I just mentioned about the house person, and the moon person is very, very obsessed and would really like to dig deeper and to know even more about all those things of the house person. And they would like to nurture that, actually. That's why they get so obsessed. You know, they would like to pull all of those things out of the house person, nurture it, you know, make sure the house person is being more comfortable and feeling safer with all of their darkness, their taboo desires and things like that. Generally, the moon person is going to push to be more intimate and to bond more with the house person, even if this is between friends. And they want to be consumed by the house person entirely. And the house person is gonna go along with this. They like this feeling. So I don't know if you guys watch Vampire Diaries, but I'm a big fan of Vampire Diaries, and there's this scene in Vampire Diaries where Damon, who is a vampire, and he's in love with Elena, who is a human, and Elena's been in this relationship with her high school sweethearts for years, since they were like kids. And she's kind of, they're kind of becoming like family, and so she's not really feeling that passion for this long-term boyfriend, who is Matt, by the way. And so Damon comes in, and then he says, Elena, you know what kind of love you would really like? And Elena's like, what? And Damon's like, you're looking for adventure and risk and an all-consuming love. That's kind of like Moon and Partner's 8th house. So generally the two people are going to have this safe space between the two of them where they share their secrets and their deeper desires that they may not want to share with the world ever. And it's really a safe space for the two of them to bring out their sexual desires. This is a sexual house. You put the moon there, right? So, I mean, the kind of sexual desires they may bring out in each other will sort of depend on how sexual the two people are in their own natal chart. Things that may seem odd to the world, they will share with each other. And in a way, that kind of meets and satisfies their deepest cravings. The moon does rule, the stomach. It's ruled by Cancer, so it rules our cravings. Our emotional, sexual cravings, the sex between if it's a love interest, is between the two people, is always going to have an emotional component to it. It's going to be emotionally moving for them. And the taboo things that they may feel safe to keep between them and to explore could depend on the sign that the moon is in and the person's house, what sign that's in. If it's more like Aquarius or Gemini or maybe Leo, then they're going to be more, pulled to explore something more experimental, maybe, a threesome or things like that. If it's more like maybe it's Capricorn or maybe it's Virgo or something like that, it could be a little bit more, S&M or bondage. So this is just a more archetypal interpretation. It does depend, of course, on each individual person. Sometimes it can even be more like spiritual sexual expressions, like tantric sex, Kama Sutra, things like that. This pairing is usually very hard to avoid between people of the opposite gender or between friendships. It's very hard to avoid because there's a feeling that there is something that a part of the two people that they're just not comfortable with letting the world or other people who may not have this overlay know about, but they would always have wanted to share with someone. And the moon person's moon falls here, and they can have that with this. So there is a need that is being fulfilled with this particular overlay. If it's in a friendship, I have seen that, the two people can even engage in occult studies together. They may like to talk about the occult, about astrology, about mysticism, witchcraft, and things like that. And they're like, oh wow, this part of me gets fulfilled. I can't talk about my family with this, or I can't talk about this with maybe my boyfriend or my girlfriend, but I have this friend that I can talk about this with. Because the 8th house rules transformation, something is going to happen sometime in the relationship, whether that's really early on or over time, that's going to cause an emotional transformation. Usually it's for the house person, but the moon person is going to act in an irrational way. They are going to act on their more subconscious impulse to provoke the house person into this transformation. So this can, for example, look like the moon person, expressing their sexual desires in a very impulsive way, and they've always wanted to do this. They don't know why, and they're just going to express it to the house person, and the house person is going to be like, yes, let's do it. But maybe the house person is not yet ready at a more 8th house level. Maybe they've still got insecurities there, but they will do it anyways because you can't resist this pairing. And when that happens, and this can be the reverse order as well, but generally it's going in this direction. And when this happens, the house person, or maybe it's the moon, is going to feel extreme insecurities that they've never shined a light onto before. This can be jealousy, this can be possessiveness, this can be self-sabotaging behavior, this can be any kind of extreme, darker feelings. And how the house person, or the moon, if it's the moon, deals with this exposure, we're gonna call it an exposure. How they deal with this exposure is their process of self-discovery. If they deal with this well, they'll discover that maybe I've been through a lot and so I know how strong I am. If they're falling into something darker and they can't get out of this, they're gonna discover that there may be a lot that they haven't purged with regards to their past, and they've not gained the strength yet, and therefore they may need to see a therapist and they may need to work something out. So they discover more about themselves through this process. And once they can overcome any of those extreme feelings, they are emotionally transformed. One of the reasons why these more extreme feelings might pop up is because when the two people are doing something very risky and engaging with each other in such a way, there's always going to be this fear of loss that pops up. And this can, go in many ways, but it can also be a fear of loss wherein the moon person, the house person, feels that they could lose the moon person because of because they're compelled to show their dark side. They're compelled to show their extreme feelings, and they could lose the moon person if they do that. And the moon person can feel like they could lose the house person because they have expressed some irrational needs or compulsions, and this situation has gone to the extreme and it's gone in a downward spiral, and they could lose the house person because of that. And how the two people deal with the fear of loss will show them who they are. And the way to really make this overlay work well is to really surrender to the process. Is to surrender to the fact that there's a part of you. There's a part of you that has been missing, or it's in the dark, and now you can become a whole person if you bring it into the light. If you shine a light on it, if you allow each other to shine a light on each other's subconscious repressed parts, you can become whole. And as the house person may be dealing with this difficulty, the moon person is usually very supportive, very nurturing in a sense. Unless maybe the moon is sitting with Mars or something like that, then it can be a bit disturbing for the house person. But generally the moon person is supportive. And during this time of hardship, this is when the moon person can be able to exercise their more unconditional, loving qualities. And so a lot of astrologers will say that this placement has to do with unconditional love, and this is why. The moon person loves the house person through their hardships in the transformation process. And it's almost like the house person is going through a traumatic experience as a result of this, and the moon person is willing to love them through their traumas. And if the house person was to transform completely, the moon person will still love the house person with whatever they've transformed into. Both people are going to become more aware of their depth of feelings through this relationship. So the ultimate theme or the goal of this moon in the 8th house overlay is really for the house person to be able to have a safe space to exercise their deeper desires, but at the same time with control. And it's really for both people, but mainly for the house person, to go through a process of self-discovery so that they can become more whole by merging their lightness of being with their darkness. So I think it's actually kind of a beautiful place to have it if both people are sort of more evolved. They're both more aware of what has happened in their past, like childhood traumas and things like that, that's kind of running their behaviors in the present day. And they've gone to therapy, they've done some emotional purging on their part. I think that this can be a very rewarding, bonding, intimate place where it's going to be really hard to tear these two people apart. So that's my take on Moon in Partner's 8th house. If you have this overlay with somebody in your life, then do comment below and let us know what your experiences have been. It would be really interesting to hear all about it. And yes, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you already subscribed, thank you very much for coming along. I do birth chart readings, synastry, and relationship readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And I'll be back very soon, beautiful souls, with the next video, Moon in Partner's 11th house. Bye!